Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today for our live podcast, The Power is Within. And we are running late tonight. We had some technical difficulties, but the show must go on, so here we are. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send a photo and contact us in your contact information at the email address in the description or at Henry's Instagram in the description. We'd like to have you as a guest on our show, so contact us and we'll see about that. So tonight's topic is As You Think, So You Are. I think I meant to steal your water. So You Are. Also check out my books on Amazon, Coming Back Home, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels, which is a very inspirational story. It will tell you how or show you how your thoughts actually do create your life and your future. And also The Power is Within, which gives you a workable way that you can use your thoughts and clear out the garbage you have within you, which actually stops that power within you that you can use to manifest whatever you want in life or create, however you want to say it. Manifest sounds like such a religious word, I suppose.
Well, they've been using that a lot on...
I don't know, manifest, make, create. I think everything exists. It's just that we have to step into that reality. It's like the world is a hologram.
Yeah, manifesting is a big thing now on Instagram. So.
Oh, is it? I guess it's okay to say manifest now. I have a hard time keeping up with the times. I knew nothing about social media until about a couple of years ago, so I still have some ignorance I'm working on. But tonight we're going to talk about As You Think, So You Are. And I got a little information off the internet here, some famous quotes about that very topic. Okay, they say, and I'll start with this one, but I don't know who this is from. They say to speak it into existence, but considering the power of your mind alone, the phrase might as well be updated to think it into existence, which I believe that's true. It's amazing how people don't realize the power of their thoughts when everything you see that was created by man first began with a thought in his mind or a vision within him. And then that vision held for a consistent period of time turned into intuitive thoughts and nudges and actions to move them into a certain direction. We wouldn't be having this podcast today. All this equipment you see here today was first created within the mind of man. You have an enormous power within you. It's just that people use it haphazardly. We're all creating something. The question is, are you creating consciously? Or are you creating unconsciously? Are you thinking about what you want in life? Or are you thinking about what you don't want? Because if you think about what you don't want, you're going to get more of, guess what? What you don't want. So it's really up to you. Your objective mind programs your subconscious mind, which is what really makes the decisions for you. You think you consciously decide to do this or that, but studies indicate that less than 2% of all your actions during the day were actually done by your conscious subjective mind. You already had the thought and the intuitive action to take the action like a split second or two before you actually do it. But we think we are doing that on our own, but actually it's the programming of the subconscious mind from a consistent repetition of thoughts or whatever input you are allowing in there. It's up to you to put in good or bad. Whatever you put in there is going to come out. So what are your thoughts on that, Henry?
That's the first thing I learned from you when I was out of school. You teach me about stuff like this, and I've noticed over time that it's true. You know, whatever I think of usually ends up happening. And the thing is, it's not that I think about it one time and it happened. It's continuously thinking about it over and over and over again. So yeah, that's just kind of how my experience is with that.
Paulina, have you ever been thinking about something that maybe you didn't want to happen, something you feared? Because fear is a magnet too. Belief or faith, as they say, faith is a magnet and fear. Faith will draw to you what you want, but actually fear is faith in reverse. Both are powerful attracting factors. So I can think of things in my life that I feared, and I see how I brought them into existence because of my fear. And the fear actually fed on itself. The same way faith does, or belief, if you like that word better. When you believe something, you start finding evidence to correspond to your beliefs. You don't see what negates your beliefs, but you see what builds them up and actually strengthens your belief. That's why, in a way, everybody gets to be right.
Yeah.
You don't believe what you see, but rather you see what you believe.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so like Henry said, it's not like you think about it once and it happens. I feel like if you keep thinking about it, you're kind of going to bring it upon yourself. Like if you were to say, oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, if you keep repeating it, I feel like you said, and not really, I'm not trying to use the word like manifest, but basically you kind of manifest it on yourself.
Or create it in your
Yeah,
life.
so like if you were to say something good, it would happen, but if you keep saying bad stuff over and over and over again, you kind of bring it upon yourself.
Along with the affirmations, you need to actually try to visualize or actually feel it's actually happening. You have to think as if you already have it. They've been teaching, that's been some of the greatest teachers of all time have been teaching that for thousands of years, to already feel and act as if you already have it. Because when you think a thought, that thought is a reality. It's not a reality in the material world, but it's an idea. It's a reality in the unseen world. And as you said, if you keep that thought consistently long enough, it will bring that to come to pass.
Yeah, and another thing with that too is it's like the more emotion you put into it, you know, like if you are, like let's say something makes you angry or you don't want something to happen, you're just thinking about how mad you're going to be about it. The more emotion that's put into it, the more likely it is to happen.
Yeah, the emotion is the driving force. I mean, I think a person could say affirmations all day, but if he has no feeling, I've read, and I believe this to be true, if we put the emotion into our desires and speaking them, if we put half of the emotion into those that we do into something we don't like or we're complaining about, I mean, I can catch myself doing the same thing. I get aggravated about something, and I'll catch myself, man, look at all the emotion you're putting into talking about something you don't want. I know at work, Henry and I try.
Yeah.
We catch ourselves complaining about something we don't like. I said, let's talk about what we do like. And it takes a lot more effort to talk about what you want and to think about what you want. But you have to have control of your mind, and that's where the willpower comes in. The will is used to control your thoughts. You have to control your thoughts. You know, if they run away like wild horses and you can't direct them, then you get whatever, you know, inputs coming in from the outside.
Yeah, another thing you say is that like if you say what you don't want, obviously if you speak it out loud or just think it, the universe will take it'll take that in. It like you can't stop it, it's just going to take it in. So you have to think of what you do want, or you have to act as if you already have that or are that.
As you are the person you want to be. Many people think they can go out and pretend to be somebody and fake it till you make it. And that does work if you try to feel as if you are that person. If you're faking it and you think you're feeling like you're a fake, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But if you actually embody the feeling that you think you would have if you were that person, and you can't just do it a short time in meditation, you have to do it in the meditation a couple times a day or 3 times a day. Think about what you want. Think about you become the person that is what you want to be. And a good way to do that is to you can get on YouTube and find people that are doing or being what you want to be and copy them. I mean, you're going to be your own unique self, but you can use what they have and form that into a mold that works for you. But that's the best way to become. Well, they say you become part of what you're around, and I believe that. Now, we can't always hang around with multimillionaires or somebody that's number one in the sport if we want to be a certain type of athlete or whatever it happens to be. But we can read books about those people and take in information about them and find out how they got to where they went and what they felt like and how it was in their life. And then we can emulate that in our lives or take the actions and then try to think about how it is to be that person. Now, if you do that once or twice, it's like going to the gym. You go to the gym one time, you're not going to see any muscles.
Yeah.
You go a week, you might not see it. A month, you might start seeing a difference. It amazes me how so many people discount the power of affirmations and thoughts. But I tried that. I did it for a week or 2, or maybe just a month. When it took us years of input and maybe negative thinking, I just cringe when I see people talk about themselves. They make a mistake and they talk about how stupid they were when they made the mistake, how dumb they were. They talk about themselves like that. Now, if they're talking about themselves like that to me, what do you think their inner conversations are like?
Yeah.
I mean, I asked them, I say, would you talk to your friend the way you talk to yourself, your best friend? Of course they wouldn't, but yet so many people berate and knock themselves down. And it's more important what you say to yourself than it is what I say to you. Much more important.
Yeah, another thing too is it's like when I first started learning about stuff like this, we watched The Secret, and it's
Right.
called The Secret, which there's no secret to it, but it seems like it's a secret because of the fact that people don't realize how much power there is, and that you're continuously doing that
Right.
when you're talking about yourself, and even works with the way you think about certain people as well. You know, it's like I remember growing up with you, I always used to think you were mean, and I was
But I
like,
was mean.
yeah, I used to think that you were mean and everything like that. But once I
Everybody
started
thinks their
changing
dad's mean. Yeah.
my thought about you, me and you started getting along more. Me and you could be around each other. We wouldn't argue and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like it's a manifestation is a big deal because you're always doing it, no matter what you're thinking about. You know,
Right.
So,
You're always manifesting something, either what you want or what you don't want. So the trick is, or the skill is to learn how to think about what you want. Because it's really difficult in the world today because we have so much social media, mainstream media, constantly
Yep.
hammering this negativity. I mean, they're not telling you what's good in the world. They're telling you all the terrible things that's going on. I mean, I was at the gas station the other day, and a TV screen pops up. I'm like, how do I get away from this?
Yeah.
I had to walk away from the pump just so I didn't hear the news that they were putting. I don't want to hear it. I don't need to know if 14 children were brutally murdered and cut up in pieces in the
Yeah.
South China Sea. Well, how is that going to benefit me? I can't do anything about it. So I really don't need that information. Whatever's relevant will come to me, and it always does. I don't watch the news, and you guys tell me if something's going on or changing. You mention, or I'll see it somewhere, or somebody will hear it. But they say we're the input of information from media and different things, like they said, like 6,000 bits and pieces a day. That's hard to believe, but I know it's a lot. But you don't consciously pick up on all this stuff. But everything, your subconscious doesn't miss anything. While I'm sitting here right now, there may be other noises here, but I'm not taking them all in. If you are consciously aware of everything going on you all at once, it would be an input overload. Like a computer, you would crash because it's just too much. So your subconscious mind filters out what's important and what's not important. I mean, you can be out in the woods, and unless you're paying attention to the birds singing, you may just listen to the creek babbling down. See, but the birds are singing too, but until you take your attention away from the creek, you won't hear the birds. There's so many sounds in the woods, you just can't take them all in, the sights and sounds. But everything that's there that is in with your vision range, your subconscious mind takes all that in. And all this media, their agenda is for you to consume.
Yeah.
Their agenda is not for your benefit. They may make it sound like it's free, but they want to sell their product or business or service, whatever it happens to be. So unless you consciously negate it or stay away from it and put into your mind what you want in there, you're allowing yourself to be programmed by the world.
Yeah.
And as we see in this current situation here, it seems like a lot of people let the media do their thinking for them. And so we can't always trust that. We know that a lot of that isn't all 100% true. And truth is dependent on the person. What's true for you may not be true for me. So that's not to badmouth anyone particularly, but sometimes someone else's truth may not be my truth. I know the current situation for me with this health crisis hasn't been that bad. I don't see the terrible things some other people see. It hasn't come into my realm of existence, so to speak, but other people have personally been affected by it.
Yeah.
So I can't say that for them it seems like a terrible situation, and they have evidence of that. But for me, I don't believe it is, so I don't have any evidence supporting that. So it really depends on what you believe about anything, what is, we'll say, presented or comes to you in your life or manifests in front of you, or that is the reality you step into. And people don't realize how much control they have over that. You can't directly control anything. Like I can't look at that mic right now and say, rise up.
Yeah.
Maybe there are some people that can do that, magicians, but
Yeah.
I can't. But by controlling your thoughts consistently day in and day out, you create the world that you're thinking about.
It's true.
Yeah, like for example, if you really think like, oh, I'm the best bodybuilder in the world or something like that, if you really believe it and you really believe you are, all you have to do is take those steps forward to make yourself the best bodybuilder in the world.
Yeah, and the thing is too is it's like the more you talk to yourself like I'm the best bodybuilder in the world, the best looking man in the world, or whatever it happens to be, you start unconsciously taking actions. You know, your
Yeah.
subconscious, you just do stuff. You don't even realize you do it until
Yeah.
sometimes afterwards.
And
I
then
mean,
just like you said, if you keep believing that and you start taking the steps forward to do it, the world bears witness to that.
I
The
was
world
thinking the
bears-
same
yeah,
thing. Exactly.
yeah.
It does. People will start telling you, we've experienced this
Yeah.
before.
Mhm.
Now, maybe some people in our audience would think, oh, I could say I'm a millionaire all day long and it ain't going to make any difference unless I go out there and work my butt off. And that's not necessarily true. I mean, you'll have to take some action more than likely, but it will be inspired or intuitive
Yeah.
action. It will be a nudge from inside yourself. And what keeps people from securing or achieving what they want is fear.
Yeah.
You may have a nudge to contact somebody or to approach somebody, and you think, oh, well, that guy, he's not going to want to talk to me. He's probably busy. I better not bother.
Yeah.
See, that's the rational, conscious mind, that 2% part, that talks us out of our success. You take people like Elon Musk, Richard Branson. These guys have faced great fears. They've been ridiculed by people for what, but they stepped through the fear. Had they backed off, oh, I better not do that. I better not try to go to the moon. Even was it Armstrong and some of those first
Yeah.
moon landing guys?
Oh, yeah,
were
those were
bad
his-
mouthing Elon.
yeah, he
and
said they were his
he really
heroes.
admired those guys. So you know it had to make an impression on him.
Yeah.
A lot of people might have said, well, you know, God, those guys are my heroes, and they don't think what I'm doing is good. They might have backed down from
Yeah.
that, but he didn't. See,
Yeah.
he kept his eyes on his vision, which is created by your thoughts and your mental attitude towards things, and he
Exactly.
achieved. But like Claude said too, it is amazing if you affirm with a vision in your mind, do it over and over and over again. When you least expect it, the world bears witness. Somebody
Yeah.
will come and say something. Somebody said something to me the other day. I don't know what it was, but it was congruent with my affirmations. And it always seems to happen when you least expect it from a place you don't even imagine.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how that works.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it does work. But if you don't believe it, you'll never be aware of these seeming coincidences. But there are no coincidences. These things happen because of your dominant thinking.
Yep.
You really need to think about what you're thinking about. If you want to be successful, you think of yourself as a success. Do not, you got to deny the evidence of your senses, your eyes, your smell, your sight, all the senses, because they all lie to you. I mean, things that were facts throughout history, like flying. They didn't want to print the first account of the Wright brothers' successful flight at Kitty Hawk because man had proven, the best scientific minds had proven that man could never fly. They were afraid to print it because guess what? Man flew.
Yeah.
And I was reading a book today, and it's like written in the 20s or 1910s, and the woman was saying that they were flying then, and one day flight will become a common way of transportation.
Yep.
Today it is. At that time it wasn't, but she believed it was. But there were still people then that probably believed, because they said that flying was a privilege that God had reserved for the birds.
Yeah.
I mean, there you are right there. Someday in the future, you guys watch Star Trek, you've seen them.
Yeah.
They'll probably dematerialize us and transport us to here.
Yeah.
Some people may think that's a crazy thought, but everything was thought to be science fiction. When I was a kid, it was Buck Rogers. He had a watch, and you could talk to your friends on that watch and see them. I mean, we never would have thought that someday. But
Yeah.
now we got phones, and you
Yeah,
can do
you got
that.
the, you got the Apple
I mean,
Watch.
it's
you can call
amazing.
people.
I mean, back in the 70s and the 80s, we had nothing like that.
Yeah,
I
now
can-
we have cars that can drive to ourselves.
Yeah,
you
like
just click
Tesla,
a
yeah.
button.
Yeah,
you
so
just
look
click
at
a
the
button.
amazing, and in your guys' lifetime, of course, I'm going to be around a long time too, but
Yeah.
you'll see a lot of things also because technology is just skyrocketing.
Yeah. It
No-
really is. Yeah.
No pun intended. But yeah, it's amazing. It amazes me because I can pick up a phone and right now, in a couple seconds, talk to somebody in China.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not China. How about Russia? Or
Yeah.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other side of the world. I mean, and look at them and speak to them.
Yeah, I
that was
know.
unheard of. When I was back in the 80s, late 90s even, I was going out with a girl in Latin America, and I had to call her. We could call once a week. It was like $5 a minute, and that was if I could get a hold of her, if the lines would. So, I mean, that's how it was. Now you can pick it up and call for free anywhere. It didn't cost me anything, and see them too. So that's how much change we've had since
Yeah.
I've been here.
Yeah, another thing too with manifesting stuff, it's like it might not be exactly what you want, but it's what you is for you. It's what you won't get when you're thinking about what you are, or like let's say I want to be the millionaire by I don't know making a certain type of phone. it might not end up being for me making a phone, but maybe it's for making cars. Maybe it's for, I don't know, something
Yeah,
else.
the how is none of your business.
Mhm.
I mean, you have to step out there and you have to take a step in the direction, but you don't have to know how it's going to play out. All you have to know is how to take the first step.
Yeah.
And then the next step will be revealed to you. And that's what happens to people so many times.
Nervous when I talk.
Oh, you're doing a great job. So many times people, well, it's like this here, this podcast. This was something I hadn't planned. It just come up that I was going to do it, and here we are doing it. I knew nothing about this. I had help from Isaac there and all you guys. I knew nothing. Want some water?
No,
Yeah.
just put it on the
See,
thing so it
and
doesn't leave a
yeah,
ring on
another
the
thing
table.
about it is that whenever you were thinking about doing the podcast, you weren't saying, "Oh, well, I'm gonna have to get this. I'm gonna have to get this. This is gonna cost this much and that much." You weren't like that's the part where you start doubting yourself. You just think, "All right, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna figure out how to do it."
Yeah, the money came, and that's something else people do too. Is they think about what they want. They get this intuitive idea, this inspired action. Which, if they didn't have the idea and the ability to, they wouldn't have the idea if they did not have the ability to do it. The first thing they think, oh, I don't have enough money to do that. So they completely limit themselves because of money. A lot of these things, like the book I wrote, the 2 books I wrote, I didn't have the money to pay for them when I first started,
Yeah.
but the money came. I didn't
Yeah.
have the money in the budget. I would have had to draw it from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But the money came to do these things, to publish these things, to do this podcast. To do all
Yeah,
these
and the thing was that you whenever you were thinking about writing those books, you as soon as you thought about doing it, you started taking the steps forward. You didn't think about anything else but that you're gonna do it.
Yeah, and he was
Right.
You know,
he was also providing something that people could take in that would help them out and stuff like that.
I don't know how to write a book. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about it. So, I just started writing. I don't know anything about this, like I said, but I didn't let that stop me. I proceeded. Now, excuse me. Now, is that to say I've never let fear stop me or apprehension? No, I have, of course. When I was boxing, I let it stop me because I didn't want. I worked. Fear is an elusive enemy because it disguises itself. When I
Yeah.
was boxing, what I did was I worked out so hard that I was always hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept myself from getting in the ring and fighting and accomplishing what I could have accomplished because I was afraid of looking bad. So I would work out so hard, I'd get hurt all the time. I used to wonder why some other guys had a lot of fights and I didn't have as many.
Yeah.
I was working out too many rounds in the gym. And a lot of the people will tell you, you got to work out one more round. You got to do this. And maybe for some people that's true, but then people like me, I always did too much. I didn't need to be told to do more. I needed to be told. My coach used to say, you don't need to come here every day. No, I got to come here every day. I was sick half the time. I had a head cold. I was
Yeah.
just run down all the time because I thought that's what I had to do to be the best.
Yeah, and like you said, fear, like you can't. It disguises itself really well. So, like for example, when we join the podcast, and what I feel like is before we start, I'm like, I don't really want to do it. I'm tired, or my back's hurting or something. But really, what it is the fear of getting on here live and talking to everybody
Right.
else.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, when there's no filters, you're gonna mess up. You mess
Yeah.
up. But really,
Exactly.
that's what people do sometimes. They want to be perfect. When I taught Spanish down in Latin America, the students who really spoke well and learned fast were the ones that weren't afraid to try. But I had other students that didn't want to speak until they could speak perfectly. Now, I speak Spanish, but I don't speak perfectly. I'm about 80 or 90%. But I'm not afraid to speak. I don't
Yeah.
care. I mean, what is it like they say? Even the one-eyed man is a king in the land of the blind.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can speak 2 languages, even if you don't speak one perfectly, you're still, a
Yeah.
step ahead of the people that only speak
Exactly.
one language. So
Yeah.
anything's like that. You cannot wait until you're perfect. You just got to go do it, man. You got to step out.
Yeah,
there.
even if you're afraid, and that's the thing. The more you do it, the easier it becomes to do. You know.
And you're going to be afraid. I mean, fear is always going to be your constant companion, so you just will make a friend of it.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there. Anything you desire lies on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and back to the manifesting thing. Well, usually I would always say like, I'm not okay, and I would end up just not being okay. And I remember me and my friends were walking around her neighborhood, and we got scared. So I made them say, we're gonna be okay. We ended up getting back to her house okay. We were just like freaking out for no
Yeah.
reason. But if I was sitting there and I was telling myself, I'm not okay, it would have probably made the situation worse than it was. But I kept telling myself, I'm okay, and we're gonna be okay. And I made my friends say, we're okay, because they started freaking out, and they were like, we're not gonna be okay. Like we're gonna die or something. And I was like, it's not gonna happen. You're just gonna bring that upon yourself. Like you need to say that we're gonna be
Yeah.
okay. So I made them repeat it over and over again.
Well, that's good.
And we ended up going back to her house and we're completely fine.
Yeah, if you-
and a good example is I remember this. I remember Henry, you had gotten in a fight with one of our brothers, and then
yeah.
you were like, one day I'm gonna be bigger, and
Yeah.
you really believed you were gonna be bigger.
Yeah, I
and
used to say
now
that.
look at you, you're almost
Yes.
6 foot.
Yeah, I used to when I was younger. I always used to get in fights, and every time I'd lose, I'd be like, "Just wait till I get bigger."
Yeah.
Sure enough, I get older. I started playing football, and that really helped boost my growth.
yeah,
a
you
lot.
ate healthy, you got a lot of
Mhm.
rest, and
Mhm.
eventually you started getting a lot bigger.
I'm a lot
you
bigger,
know?
and I'm the biggest one out of all of us. Dude,
Yeah.
it's like
Bigger
yeah.
than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the thing about fear that we were talking about earlier, I feel like what you guys were talking about is kind of like, for an example, like if somebody were to be scared to jump off a diving board or something and they'd be like freaking out and then they did it, they'd be like, oh, I want to do it again. I want to keep doing it. I want to do it. And then they just end up getting used to it. So it's like whatever you start doing, you get used to. So it's not as bad as you used
Yeah,
to
if you're
think it
facing your
was.
fear. Yeah, and that's the thing too is like if you think that you're gonna jump off that dive board and belly flop, so you just continuously skip out on the diving board, and then you end up doing it and you do belly flop. It's you were thinking about that. You were imagining
Exactly.
yourself getting hurt. Just and that's the thing. It's like let's say you do. Just do it again. Get out there and jump on it again. Jump out off that diving board.
Yeah.
Like face your fear.
Yeah, and a perfect example is I was at the pool one time and I seen this kid doing he was doing a gainer, and I thought, man, I was like, I guarantee I can do that. I know I can. So I would run off the diving board and I kept trying, and I messed up like 2 or 3 times, but then and I stopped for a second, but then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it one more shot, and I was able to do it. I mean, I got in trouble, but I was still able to do it.
You were, and then you also seen people do double front flips, didn't you? Like, and then you started.
Yeah,
doing,
and I learned how to do it double
Yeah,
too, because
yeah.
I got out of my comfort zone, because a couple years back I did it and I kept smacking my back and it hurt, but then the next year I decided, I was like, you know what, I know I can do it, and I knew I could, and I believed that I could see myself doing
Exactly.
it, so I got out of my comfort zone and I did it.
Right there's a good example. What do you say? I could see myself
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
I could see myself doing it. In an old book that many people know, it says, without a vision, the people perish. You have to have a vision of what you want in life. I was thinking about, as you were talking about, as Polly talked about the fears, the great Walendas. Do you know who they are?
No.
Okay, they were the great tightrope walkers. Maybe there's still some of them around, but the older, I think one of the older ones, but anyway, one of them that was really good, he might have walked across the canyon, or maybe he fell. But his wife said that, like, when he was practicing for that, was the first time that he ever started talking about trying not to fall.
Yeah.
He always did. He never talked about trying not to fall. He talked about walking across and
Yeah.
making. But this time he talked about it, and sure enough, when he tried to do it, I think it might have been the Grand Canyon, or I'm not sure what, but it was something really extravagant, and he ended up falling and dying.
Yeah.
See, he was thinking about falling,
Yeah.
not about getting across. And it's just so easy for us, and like I said, with the media, constantly focusing on what we don't want, the things we don't want to happen, we really don't want to hear about. And then if you get into that mode of thinking, then you start thinking about all the terrible things. And there are many, many wonderful things that happen in the world every day, acts of charity, acts of love,
Yep.
but they don't make mainstream news. You've got to look for those things. Just like it's easy to be negative, but it takes effort to think positive,
Yep.
to think about what you want. So it's a constant thing of managing or trying to watch your thoughts and think about good things.
Yeah.
Even about, especially when somebody cuts you off in traffic. That's a good example. I talked about that on the video this morning. I've had, I meet people and they talk about all the crazy drivers out there. I don't see any crazy drivers. I see people sometimes who don't use their signal, or they cut me off. But what I think about is I've done that myself
Yeah.
sometimes. I realize these people don't want to get into a wreck. So I don't really see many crazy drivers, but they see them because they believe they're out there, and there's a lot of them. I see people that forget to use their signal, or don't see me because there's that blind spot in the car.
Yeah.
I've looked back, I've looked in the mirror, there's nobody there, and I
Yeah.
start to turn and somebody's blowing their horn.
Yeah.
I didn't see him. So maybe that person, I don't know, maybe he's thinking, there's another one of them crazy drivers.
Exactly.
Or maybe he's thinking like I do, oh, the guy didn't see me, I was in that blind spot. So once again, that's the perception we
Yeah.
choose. We have a choice in the perception of anything, how we want to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I don't know what you call it, or sometimes you come home from work, or I don't know when you do it, but I know I do it a lot, and it's like, oh, I have to, like, for example, the podcast, it's like, oh, I have to do the podcast. Instead of saying that, you could say, I get to do the podcast.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and that's a tough one too.
Yeah.
I know we're born to like, I have to go to work, I have to go to school. Yeah, I get to go to work, I get to do the podcast. You know how many people would like to be going to work that don't work because they can't, because they have a disability or whatever, or maybe they would like to be doing this, but they're in a part of the world where they don't have the opportunities we have here in the U.S. I know many people have no idea how great we have it here in the U.S. We live in the land of luxury compared to most of the world. They just don't understand. There's so many opportunities here that aren't in probably 80% of the world. They don't have the opportunities we have.
Yeah, I know. And like the thing is too, is it's like back to the like topic of like, you know, how strong your mind is. I mean, all this, you probably seen it in your head before it was here, you know, in your mind, you've seen all this. And on top of that, all the stuff that we have around the house, the statues, the lions up there. I remember how you used to visualize it all before it was there. And then now it's here, you know. It's like your mind is extremely powerful, especially when you visualize a lot of things.
Yeah, I started all this back in 1998. And I bought this house, and I started all the concrete and the walls work, and I had the fountain out there, and I didn't have any statues at the time. But anyway, I went through a divorce and lost it all. Lost the house, had to turn it back to the bank, and parted with the bank on good terms. That didn't even go on my credit report for some reason. But anyway, so I never thought I was going to come back here, but I had a strong vision of what I wanted. And as you guys know, when we were back up here about 8 or 9 years ago, something like that, we'd go to the park and I'd look at the house, but I never really thought about being here. But I would look at what I had tried to create, and then through strange coincidences, the house, it wasn't for sale, but I knew the guy who owned it, and he wanted to get rid of it, and he made me a deal on it, and I ended up moving back here, and then I ended up finishing all the stonework, and the fountain was covered up. I had to uncover the fountain, and we bought we got statues all over, and it's a beautiful place. There's not a place like it probably in Missouri.
Yeah.
We have several statues, 1, 2, 3, 4 statues, the big pool and the fountain in there, and the rock walls were built by the Latin Americans all around the house. So it's really
cool.
Quite different,
I remember one time I was at a lake with a couple of my buddies, and we were all swimming to this one big old rock that you could jump off of. And at first we were going, and I started getting really tired because you got to swim there. So I ended up backing out, and I ended up going back to back like by where a couple of my buddies were standing. But I seen the rest of them, like they were swimming there, and they got to the rock and they were jumping off. And I thought it was really cool because I seen how big it was, and I really wanted to jump off. And I really wanted to do it, and I backed out the first time because I was afraid. But then I was like, you know what? I was like, the only way I'm going to make it there is if I go swim there. It's like, because I can't take a boat. So I gave it one more shot. And even though I was tired, I just kept swimming. I kept swimming because I stopped thinking about the fear. I just thought about me getting there, me just going there. And as soon as I kept going, I ended up making it on the rock, and I jumped off.
A thing that people do too is like people don't realize they visualize themselves at that spot, just like how you could visualize an argument. It's harder to visualize something good than it would be if
it's effort.
It does. And for example, it's like, let's say you're going to have an argument with somebody, or maybe you guys are going to get into an argument. You're going to visualize, and you're going to sit there and have conversations. You're going to think about what you're going to say and how they're going to respond to it back and forth.
See, that's your inner conversations. How many people, and I've done it too, have this argument going in their head? Maybe they have a boss they don't like, and they got this argument going in their head with them all the time. It's a sure way. They may never end up in an argument with the boss, but I guarantee they're going to have arguments and dissensions with other people in different situations. And they never realize, because they get so much satisfaction out of telling the boss off in their mind. I've done it myself. I catch myself. But what you have to do, the minute you catch yourself having something like that, you have to stop and try to think of something good about that person. And if you can't do that, then you need to focus on what you want in life and focus on your goals.
Yeah.
And we have the power. In this kingdom between your ears, that is the kingdom right there. You have complete dominion over that. You have dominion over what you let inside there and what you let go on inside there. You have complete dominion over that. And when you take care of that and control that, you got that in good shape, then your outer world is a direct reflection of what's going on inside of you.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's really cool to think that you have such great power, just on your mind. You have full control of it, but you have to use it. You have to. I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of it, but it's really cool to think that it's so easy to manifest something just by the way you think.
Right.
It's
Well,
awesome. You taught me that.
Stop and think about this. Some people say that there's enough power in a human being that is stronger than a nuclear bomb or the same as an
Yeah.
atomic bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the people out there that maybe think that this is kind of bull crap or
Yeah.
woo-woo,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you something to compare that to. A nuclear warhead, I saw it the other day, it dropped on a city, would kill like 300,000 people, or 400, let's say 400,000 to make it worse. Okay, Adolf Hitler used the same power we're talking about, and something like 50 million people died during World War II. Now, think about that. That all started in his mind. He wanted to rule the world.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there were other people in the world that had opposing ideas. Otherwise, we may be all speaking German now. I don't know. But that all started in the mind of man as an idea. And he knew the power of affirmations and words because he constantly had propaganda being blared out on these big loudspeakers they had back then and leaflets of propaganda. And he knew that he could program the masses with that.
Yeah.
He used that. Now, of course, it ended in his destruction. So that power is neither good nor bad. It can be used however you want to use it. It's your choice. You just have to be willing to either reap the benefits of
Yeah.
it or suffer the consequences of it.
Or another person too is Gandhi. You know, he
Yeah, there's the opposite
yeah,
pole. Yeah,
he
exactly.
he used that power too, but he never had to pick up a weapon or had to fight or anything like that. He used his words and the way he motivated people because he had that inner strength.
and he freed the people of India without ever firing a shot. And you're talking 50 million, I don't know, how many, millions of people from the great, at that time was the greatest power in the world, the British Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So without ever using a gun, through what's it called? Non-violent methods.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Passive resistance. I'm not quite sure what
Yeah.
to call it, but yeah. So there you go. You got the power Hitler used and the power Gandhi used. And some people want to say, oh, that's God and that's the devil. But it's the same power.
Yeah.
It's just we have a choice. That's our free will. We can use it however we want. What we're talking about now, this power of visualization, of your thinking, you can use that to get or achieve whatever you want, but you have to be willing to suffer the consequences.
Yep.
If you're trying to take something from somebody or use people with it, you may get temporarily what you want, but that will be taken or used, you'll be used or taken from multiplicatively down the road in the future. That's an inescapable law like gravity. I mean, you can't see gravity. Think about the wind. That's a terrible. Well, we were here the other night, right?
Yeah.
Had a bad storm. I was sitting there enjoying the power of the storm. Man, it was really crazy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it got worse, and the house moved. And this house is solid. It's been here since 1875. And I said, it's time to go downstairs.
Yeah.
Now, it's an amazing power. No one can see the wind, but you can see the effects. Gravity. You can't see gravity, but you can see the effects. Electricity. You can't see electricity. You see the effects of electricity. So all these things, it's amazing how readily we believe in that, but yet sometimes we don't want to believe in this awesome power that lies within each and every one of us. We all have it. It's just a question of what are you using it for?
Mm-hmm. Another thing too is it's like with that power in your mind and everything. What it does too, if you drink or smoke or take some sort of medication, it kind of blocks you from
Right.
that. It's not as easy to manifest something compared to someone who is like fully sober like you. I know you are really good at manifesting stuff, and you notice how things happen around your life because of the way you think, and you'll probably you probably notice it more too because you're more connected with that power or whatever happens to be, you know. But
Yeah. Yeah, well, the drugs or alcohol, and I've drank and did drugs years ago. I haven't done it since 91 or something like that. But yeah, it's funny because that will give you the elusive feeling of having some certain control.
Yeah.
And there's a certain power in that while it's working. Because what that does, it allows you the ability to let things go and just allow that power to work out. Then a day comes, usually for all of us, it doesn't work anymore. It actually makes things worse. And that's where people struggle with using this power. You have to plant the seed, decide what you want, get the vision, and then you have to just let it go. It's like planting the seed out in the ground. You go out there and plant it, you don't run out there, well, how's it going to come up today?
yeah,
Well, it's not coming. Is it going to come up? I wonder if it's going to come up. And the same is with this. You plant the seed, but to cultivate it and water it, whatever your vision is, whatever your goal is, you think about it 2 or 3 times a day as if it's already here, and then you just let it go and you go about your business. And as you go about your daily affairs, you'll get intuitive ideas and nudges to do something. And sometimes it may not even seem like it's connected with your vision, but you need to do it. It's like, oh, all of a sudden pops in your head, I need to call Bob. Well, he's probably busy. He doesn't want to talk to me. So you do it. You pick up the phone, you call him, and maybe you just have a talk about something. And nothing may come from that you can see. It's like Steve Jobs said, you can only connect the dots by looking backward.
Yeah.
You don't know how that's going to come to pass. I mean, it's good to make a plan, but your plan has to be flexible. All the great generals during World War II would tell you, we had a plan, but it never went as I planned. You had to be flexible because so many things can happen. So the how about it's going to come to pass is none of your business. You got to forget about the how and just do what's in front of you. Do the next right thing. Do the next step in the direction of your goals. I didn't know how we were going to get going tonight because we had some delays and problems, and I got the computer out, and I thought we could do live on there. That didn't work. So I'm like, but then my camera guy showed up, and we got going, and here we are.
Yeah.
Now, see what happens sometimes is people get frustrated, and they just, oh, heck with it, we won't do it tonight, to get mad or whatever. You just got to press on and do the best you can.
Yeah.
A couple of our guests, people we were going to have here, they didn't show up. But this was exactly how it was supposed to be. Is your determination, your conviction, your consistency, your persistence, your perseverance, these things are all powerful. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people, the unsuccessful people give up.
Yeah.
You're never defeated. It's never failure until you're in the grave. I failed so many times as far as not achieving what I wanted to. Many, many times. Like I said, I lost this house, and here I am back, and it's more beautiful than I actually ever imagined. And Henry, you spoke about that. Something like, you may not get exactly what you want, but I'm telling you what, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you'll either get what you want or something better.
Yeah.
Because many times we don't actually know what's best for us. But the universal power, spirit, divinity, God, whatever you want to call it Luis if you want to. That's what Wayne Dyer used to say.
Yeah.
It knows what's best for you. But you have to trust something other than this mind that says,
Yeah.
well, 2 + 2 is 4. Oh, I need to turn that light switch on. That's about what this mind's got its place.
Yeah.
But you have to trust when you've done all you're supposed to do, you got to stop and just allow things to flow out and happen. And it will happen either what you desire or something better. But you have to guard your thoughts and your minds and keep them. You don't want to get resentful. Ah, crap. Nothing ever works out for me. I knew I couldn't do it. I hear people say that. It's like, no, it's working out perfectly. Sometimes the seemingly terrible, tragic things that you think are destroying your every chance to get to your goal are actually what needs to happen to get you there.
Yeah.
You have to have the character. How many times have we seen people achieve great success and they self-sabotage? Because
Yeah.
they don't feel like they deserve it. They end up doing drugs or having a car accident or getting in trouble because they got drunk or whatever it happens to be, and they destroy it all because they don't feel like they deserve it.
It's
They
kinda
didn't
like-
have the character. Go ahead.
That's kind of like relationships. Some people think like, oh, I don't deserve to be treated like this, so they kind of distance themselves from that person, and they're like, no, I can't do this. Like, you don't actually love me. You're using me. Like, they just come up with things in their head to make it seem
Yeah.
And they
like
see evidence.
yeah, and they keep thinking over and over, and then sometimes like when I think about stuff, it'll pop up on like my Instagram or like TikTok or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
usually when girls think like, oh, he doesn't actually love me, they think about it so much it ends up popping up on their TikTok, and they see these TikToks and they're like, maybe it's true. Like I
Yeah,
should
it's a
just
sign.
like it's like
They
it's
see
a sign.
evidence.
Yeah.
It's like I shouldn't be with this person or something. But really, they only think that because of the fact that they think that they aren't supposed to be treated that way. They think that they can't be that there's no way that they
Nobody
could be
could
that
love
happy.
them that much.
Yeah.
Nobody could be, yeah.
Yeah. Another thing too, I was gonna say is there's a lot of people who if you ask them how they're doing, they'll be like, oh, I'm just getting by.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like
I'm making it.
that's the thing. Is it's like if they believe that, that's how it's always gonna be for them. They're
Exactly.
just gonna be getting by.
Just getting by.
But even if it does feel like you're just getting by, say something like, "Oh, I'm doing great, better every single day," and then
Yeah.
you'll start to see evidence. But it's something you have to continuously do over
Yeah,
time.
and you'll feel like a liar when you say it. But a lie told over and over long enough becomes true. That's how they brainwash people. So if you tell yourself you're great or successful or whatever it happens to be, I think of Muhammad Ali. He used to say, I'm the greatest before he ever was the greatest. And now he is considered one of the greatest or the greatest fighters of all time. He would speak it out. He would say it, because he believed that he would be or that he was. He said he was, and he became.
Yeah, there was one time when I was in class, my teacher had this girl walk out of the class to go get a paper, and he talked to us and told us all, we're going to get this blue marker and this purple one, and we're going to tell her that they're both the same color. And then she walked back into the classroom, and he asked her, what color is this marker? And she goes, it's purple. Everybody's like, no, it's blue. And she eventually started getting convinced,
Yeah.
like, oh, it's starting to look
Exactly.
blue, It's crazy how it's like your mind can get tricked just by, people telling you certain things,
Right.
It was really, I didn't think, it just popped in my head for some reason, so.
And I've done the same thing in relationships. Sometimes you feel like you get to where you don't trust a person. You start looking for things. You're going to find whatever you seek. A correlation to seeking or looking for is finding.
Mm-hmm.
You will find evidence to.
I'll get it.
Somebody's at the door.
It's probably Darian.
You will find evidence to support whatever you believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Henry was talking about that marker thing or whatever. Like, there's this picture of these flip-flops that people post around, and they're two different colors, and I saw gold and blue. My friend saw gold and white. So then I started telling him, I was like, no, it's blue. It's literally blue. Like, it's just blue,
Right.
this. So then he ended up being like, oh, wait, it does kind of look blue. Like, it looks white with a tinted blue. He kept thinking in his head, because I kept telling him it was blue, so he started being like, oh, it's starting to look blue now. And then Frank, he saw gold and black, and then I kept telling him it was blue, and then he started seeing blue, which was really weird to me.
Yeah.
It's just like a mind trick on everybody. The actual color is gold and blue, but for some reason, people just see a whole bunch of different
Yeah, I
colors.
saw one with a dress, and I saw a
dress.
different color than somebody else.
Yeah, it's like
saw.
it's either a gold dress or it's either a blue dress.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, it's like, how is that? So, once again, you don't see what you believe. You see what you believe, not so much. I get that confused.
Yeah.
You don't believe what you see.
You see what you believe, yeah.
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 I have a hard time with that one.
One person. What I was gonna say is one person you can really talk to about your your beliefs and all that, and they won't doubt you is your own reflection. Talk to
Sure.
the mirror, because the best person you can talk to is that man in the mirror, which is yourself. Because then he's not gonna doubt you. He's not gonna tell you can't do that. He'll believe you because he's you.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another thing too. Louise Hay used to talk about that. I read a couple of her books, and she talked about mirror work. Really, every morning when you look in the mirror, you should tell yourself good things about yourself.
Yeah.
Tell yourself you're going to have a wonderful day. A lot of people think this is Pollyanna, but it works. It really does. But you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They just try it for a week or two. Like I said, who would go to the gym and work out a week or two and think, oh, well, I'm going to get big like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
He's another one. He said that he dreamed about and thought about being the best, not just about the greatest in the world, and thus he became that.
Yeah, another thing, Muhammad Ali, he always used to talk, I'm the greatest in the
Yeah.
world, and he became one of the greatest fighters.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
that's the thing. He used to say it when he was getting on the news or when people were talking to him. He would tell himself that every day.
Yeah.
He would continuously say, I'm the
Right.
best all the time. So he became one of the best. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to believe it, and you have to and see now. You're talking about years it took for some of these guys to get to where they're at, and people see their success a lot of times. They think, "Oh, I wish I'd be successful. I'd like to be successful like them," but they don't see the times when those guys felt like giving up, when they felt like they never were going to get. But feelings have nothing to do with it. Your actions, your feelings are important as far as when you can to put that feeling into your emotion or in your vision. Feel like you already achieved it, but when you feel bad or you feel discouraged, you have to get rid of all that doubt. You have to believe that just because you feel that way at the time, it really has nothing to
Yeah.
do with what's going to happen. You have to trust.
Yeah.
You have to trust in universal intelligence, and when you make these affirmations, you have to make them with the intention of impressing universal intelligence, substance, whatever, and then that mind, the one mind, great mind, God, whatever you want to call it, will bring things and situations. It's like we've spoke about that, Henry. It's like a hologram. We've seen
Yeah.
some really strange.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this is just too weird.
Uh-huh.
But we think it's weird because we live in a world where everybody says that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
or that
It's
it's
not
a
real or
coincidence.
something. Yeah.
Hey, right on, it's a coincidence.
Mhm.
That's a coincidence.
Yeah, and like you said about how it took like those guys years to do that stuff, I feel like some people will like try to manifest something and then they won't see anything, and
In a week or so.
yeah, I feel like they also think like they don't see anything because they don't actually believe that. They just say it.
Yeah.
Like they don't believe in themselves.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't believe in themselves to do it. So it's like, well, okay, I'm going to keep saying this. And then after a week, nothing's happened. And then they start giving up and giving up. And they're just like, well, that was useless. Like there was no reason for me to do that if nothing happened. It's like, you got to believe in yourself and you got to trust it's actually going to happen. And it'll end up happening,
Yeah,
whether it's like 2 years from when you say it, like it will happen.
Like what Dad was saying is like people, when you're doing affirmations, you have to feel it and believe what you're saying. You can't just say it
Exactly.
with no emotion and think, after a week it's gonna happen. You really have to put the effort behind it. So
Another technique too is to see someone. I tell you what I used, and some people may think I'm being a little arrogant about this, but I'll say it anyway. One of the affirmations I have is, I am the man that all men want to be like, and I am the man that all women want to be with. Now, is that true in reality? Probably not. But I tell myself that, and as you know, I've had people
Yeah.
send me messages on Facebook saying, I want to be like you. Because I'm 60, I got a 6-pack or an 8-pack. The one
Yeah.
guy said an 8-pack, I'm in good shape. And they see that and they say, I want to be like you when I get older. Okay? And I got a abundance of girls I could go out with if I wanted to. Young girls, 21, 19, 18 years old. Because I believe, you tell yourself that long enough and it comes to pass.
yeah,
When you first tell yourself, I didn't have anybody send me messages saying they wanted to be like me, and I didn't have an abundance of women to go out. Well, I'm pretty good, but not like I do now.
yeah,
Okay, but it just comes. Now, did I do anything to make that happen? No. I just did the affirmation, and it just happens. I can't explain it. It's the mystery. It's the
Yeah.
great mystery they've talked about for thousands of
The
years.
secret.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I don't have to know. I just know that it does. Whenever you impress your subconscious mind, which is connected or is an organ of the universal mind, with an idea, and you press it with consistency, somehow or another it makes that come to pass. And
yeah,
Yeah, another good example is like the type of music we listen to. We listen to rap. There's a lot of people who live in bad parts of the city and all that, and they want to get out of that, and they don't just want to do it for themselves. They want to do it for their family and all that, and they also want to they want to be rich. They want to live a life without
violence. and-
without violence and all that, and they put the work in every day. They do it every day, and eventually they get out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're out of it.
Yeah,
Now
the
you
thing
see
is,
a lot of
the
rappers.
thing is too is it's like you have to focus on what is around you and what kind of people you're around as well. If you're around a bunch of people who are using drugs, have in constant violence, that's what your life is going to consist of.
Yeah.
That's also part of you. So yeah,
I learned something too from Sparty Fortune, Team Fortune. I don't know where he's at now, but anyway, he said one day, he said, I'm a 10. Some girl asked me what I was on a scale of a 1 to 10. He said, I'm a 10. He said, does everybody think I'm a 10? No. He said, but I think I'm a 10. He said, and I thought about that because I had a boxing coach who used to say, you are what you think you are. And I put that together and I started affirming that myself, and it comes to pass. I mean, you start having evidence out there that you are a 10. Is everybody
Yeah.
going to look at me and think I'm a 10? No. But do I care? No. I get the evidence back, and I get results of a guy who's a 10
Yeah.
or a high-value male. I mean, but if you don't believe you are, you're not going to take the actions. I mean, I've done a lot of things to put myself to where I am today, financially and
yeah,
in the society here, and how do I say, socially speaking.
yeah,
And so, but those actions were a result of me believing and affirming that I am a high-value man, that I am a 10, that I am this or I'm that. Because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't work out. I probably wouldn't take care of myself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't eat right. These are all things that are a result of the consciousness I've built up first. And the actions follow the consciousness of who I am.
exactly. Yeah.
If you try to change something on the outside, I know it's like into the dating part, guys will learn all these techniques, and they're good. But whatever you achieve by that technique, because you're like false advertising, you're portraying something that you're not.
Yeah.
If you don't have the consciousness to go along with that, whatever you
Exactly.
achieve will be short-lived. What ends up happening is the woman's going to be disappointed because you're not what you presented yourself as, and then you're going to be disappointed because you can't keep a hold of a high-value girl.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. You have to program yourself first, and then the evidence will be shown afterwards. A lot of people think, no, you got to take the action, you got to make it happen.
Yeah.
You can make some things happen by force of the will in like external activities, but they won't last. You have to have it by right of consciousness, by right of who you are. You have to be that person. That's why you could take Trump or Richard Branson or Elon Musk. Elon Musk, that's the name. Okay.
Yeah.
And take away all their money, and they would have it all back within 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Because they have the consciousness of a multimillionaire or a billionaire in this
Yeah.
respect. So they have that in their mind. You could take all the money and distribute it evenly to everyone in the world, and in 5 years it would be back in the hands of the people who had it, because you have a poverty consciousness or you have an abundance consciousness. And it's very important which one you have. It's like many people talk about, well, I think about, I say, you got to think about having money to have money. And they say, I think about money all the time. You know what you're thinking about? How am I going to pay the rent?
Yeah.
My house payment, my car payment, the grocery bill, the gas is, the gas went up 2 cents a gallon. Oh my God. And they're thinking about lack.
Yeah.
There is no lack in the world. It was created by man. Do you see a lack of leaves, a lack of grass, a lack of air? No. Man created lack. It is an illusion. If you're lacking in your life, it's because you're lacking in here. And I've lacked in my life because I was lacking inside.
Yeah, exactly. You guys want
No, I don't.
to? I think we could keep going still.
Yeah, let's
There's
see
a lot
what's
to
going
talk about.
Okay. Where was we? Okay. Here's one here. Author Sidney Madwood says, our subconscious minds have no sense of humor, play no jokes, and cannot tell the difference between reality and the imagined thought or image. Did I read that already?
Yeah, I think a little bit, but that's I could talk. That'd be good.
Okay, I was thinking about it too, because I have a tendency to joke around sometimes. I have to.
Yeah.
I think about that because.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I joke around about, like we were talking about earlier, people talk about themselves, oh, I'm dumb or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm constantly joking around saying like, like let's say I trip and I'm like, oh, I'm so stupid or something. If I say that about myself, I'm putting that into my mind. I mean, even me just saying it now isn't good for me to say it because.
Yeah, and there's emotion. When you trip, there's a high emotion
Yeah.
there. So that's the worst time to say something about it. Because whenever you mix emotion with an affirmation, it really is powerful.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I know if it wasn't for you guys, I talk about this. I stepped over our doggy door the other day and tripped, went all the way across the room, banged into the wall, and hit the light. I didn't fall down. And now, if I wasn't with you guys, I would feel old. But you guys do the same thing.
Yeah, I stepped over it and fell on my face.
I mean, we get done at work and get out of the van after driving from the city. You guys are stiff as heck, and I
Yeah.
am too. But even though I know, my mind still, I hear my mind saying, oh, you're getting older, but then I stop. No, look at them. They're feeling the
Yeah.
same way. See, so these are all programmed beliefs. They say there's actually no reason biologically for us to
Yeah,
die.
'cause our
We
cells-
age and die
yeah.
because we believe that's what we're supposed to do. Let's see, we'll go to this next one here. Okay, number one, she knew the power of her mind and so programmed it for success. Carrie Green. Just what we've been talking about, programming your mind for success. If you're not programming your mind, someone else is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like a good example of that is like at school, they program you to like
Get a good
like,
job.
get a good job, go to college.
And if you don't
like-
graduate, that you're not gonna end up. You're gonna be lacking in your life. That's pretty much.
And
what
also, a good example is society programs you to get a good job, have kids, get married, live this.
and then retire.
Yeah,
and,
have a 9-to-5 job, But like you got people who take that they take that road off. They take there's the right road, and you live by society's ways, or you could take the left road, which not a lot of people take.
Yeah.
And you live your own life. And the thing is, if you get out of that programming and you step into your own, you take your own road, then everything's different for you. Like Elon Musk,
Yeah.
or Jeff Bezos,
But those are exceptions. That's
Yeah.
what they'll tell you.
Yeah,
but
that-
that's like saying you can't be an
Yeah.
exception. Everybody's an exception if they decide they want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is too is it's like nowadays there's a lot of people that want to hire people who haven't graduated or haven't gone to college or stuff like that. But when I was younger, when I was in school, they would always tell me, well, if you don't graduate, you might not be able to get a good job.
Exactly.
And then that might be true for them, but
Mhm.
it's not true for
Yeah, that's
certain
their
people.
truth.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to be that lion. You got to be the lion in the herd of sheep. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And
Well, yeah, what's that? Somebody says it's an acronym. Is that the word they use for job? Is just over broke? I'm not sure if
yeah,
acronym is right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
yeah. I know
Just
what you're
over
talking about.
broke. Now, there's some good jobs out there. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not one to work for someone else. But I was thinking about talking about. Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. I quit school when I was. I did good until I was about fifth, sixth grade, and it was more of the same boring stuff for me. I was good with my hands, so I quit when I was a sophomore, and I don't believe in much education past that. I believe in education, just not the type that they give in school. And I've been able to, with I'm a high school dropout, and I've been able to raise you kids for the last 10 years
Yeah.
by myself. I have a business, raised you guys, and then I've started this YouTube channel and a podcast. I've written 2 books, and I'm a high school dropout. I had an English school.
Yeah, and you
in,
travel. You've
in
traveled
Central
a lot.
America.
Yeah.
I've been out of the country 30 times. So how did I do that? If I listened to the teachers, and I admire teachers. I couldn't do that job. That's a tough job. I'm not discounting teachers. But had I listened to them and believed that, well, I can't get a good job because I didn't graduate, where would I be?
Yeah.
Now, school's not for everybody. Some people, education is good, but how many people I know go to college, get into college debt, and then they're working at like Ameren, the electric company,
Yeah.
or the city of Troy, or whatever it happens
And they
today.
spend years
And
paying that
they're
debt
paying
off.
it
yeah.
back. I was just at the hardware store the other day, and that lady's paying her college debt off. She's going to get her master's in something, but yet she's working at the hardware store.
There was
So-
one lady who worked at this gas station. I think she had a bachelor's degree or something like that, but she was working at the gas station because she couldn't get that job that
Right.
required whatever she.
And women have the greatest college debt of anybody in the United States. They've been feeding this same thing to people for years. Get a college education, like that's a guarantee to something successful.
Yeah.
And it's not. Most of these degrees are worthless. You can't use them for anything. So, like I said, I believe in education. You guys know I'm constantly reading. I'm
Yeah.
listening to YouTube speakers and people who speak on things that I want to learn, usually how to use your mind to have more success. So I believe in education. I just don't believe, at least for some of us, in the type of education that they have once you get past the 8th grade. If you can read, write, and reading, writing, and arithmetic, that's what they used to say. I mean, and another example is look how many people come to this country. They can't speak the language. They don't have a high school education.
Yeah.
They become millionaires. How is that? Now, are they exceptions? Maybe they are, but why can't everybody can be an exception if they decide they
Yeah.
are an exception? Or do they want to listen to, if you don't get a good job, you're going to be broken? Nowadays, that doesn't mean the same thing. When my mom and dad, they both worked at one at McDonald's or Boeing, 36 years, and my mom at Monsanto. Back then, they had retirement plans and all that, so that was a good deal. But things have changed so much now. You can't depend on these companies.
Yeah.
They may fold up tomorrow. My brother used to ask me, how can you stand being, because he went in business with me when I first started, how can you stand not knowing if you're going to work tomorrow? Well, that's where you have to trust the universe.
Yeah.
Okay? But in a company, you don't know whether nowadays they may
Yeah.
close up tomorrow. They do it. It happens all the time. Lay off 5,000-6,000 people.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's no security except from the security that comes from within yourself. You know, from your belief in a power that takes care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say that there's more millionaires and billionaires that have dropped out. And the thing is, like people who have gone to college or people who have graduated from college, you don't really see them. You don't see them driving like a Rolls Royce, or you don't see them driving like supercars and all that.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like even though you go to school, it's like most of the time the stuff that they learned at school, once you get past like middle school or whatever, they don't use most of that.
It's memorization,
Yeah.
and you forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
What's that one thing they say? They don't teach you new things. They what is
They
it?
just teach you how to remember.
Yeah, they teach you how to remember.
And that's the thing, like, how to do the same thing over and over again. And that's programming, you know. But what I was gonna say too was, lost my train of thought. But anyway,
Well,
yeah.
use your imagination to remember too, but that's not constructive imagination. They need to teach, I believe, how to use your imagination in school, because everything is created from the mind of man. So why not? And they need to teach us to be free thinkers, not people who sit in a row and do exactly when the bell rings, you get up. And I mean, I understand
Yeah.
why they do that, but it doesn't teach free thinking. It makes you a cog in the wheel of the giant industry. You're a worker. They program you to be a worker,
Yeah.
not a free thinker. I did see though, in when you went to MSC there, that they did have some. They were starting to have some pretty good stuff about
Yeah.
goals and different things like which they never had anything like that when I was in school. Less than I think 2% of the people in the world have written goals. I have written goals, but less than 2% of the people do, or 3%, something like that. Many people are afraid to write their goals down because when you write them down, they're real.
Yeah.
You have to do something about it. They don't want to write them down. Very important to write your goals down and review them at least twice a day. When you get up in the morning and when you go to bed at night. I review mine twice a day, sometimes 3 times, usually twice a day. I spend time reviewing them, thinking about them as if I already have them, contemplation. All these things are important. But today, so many people they have to be entertained. They can't sit still and not have something to listen to.
Yeah.
There was a time in my life when I was similar. I had to have a radio going or something. But we need to be in the silence because that's when the guidance of our inner higher self, if you like, can tell us what we need to do. But if you're constantly allowing this stuff to come in, you don't listen to hear. Too many voices coming in from the outside, and you're not listening to this that knows exactly what you need to do and can bring you the desires of your heart.
I remember one time I was reading a book about creative visualization, and I was explaining it to my buddies about that, and I said, if you really believe you can breathe fire, you can. And they were all laughing, this and that.
Eat some
and
hot
the thing
peppers, that'll do it.
Yeah, and the thing is that you're not literally gonna breathe fire, but you go to a circus and all that sort of stuff. You see people who do that thing where they hold a fire next to their mouth and they blow out, and
Yeah,
all of a sudden they're,
another thing too is
breathing fire.
there was that one guy who could take a piece of paper and put it in his hand and light it on fire just by putting his hands like this.
Yeah.
I seen a video of him doing it, but it's his power, the power that he has, and he truly, if he sat there and didn't genuinely believe that he could do it, probably couldn't do it. But he had such a belief that he could do it, and I think he had something else like, how you can master your chi or something like that, and do stuff like that. But
Yeah, look how many things people do that they say are impossible. Who's the guy who can hold his breath and go underwater for like 21 minutes? And it's scientifically proven that if you go without oxygen to your brain for like 5 minutes, permanent brain damage.
Yeah.
But yet he does it. So
yeah,
how is that?
And there's a guy who can swim in really freezing cold.
Iceman Hoff, yeah.
Yeah,
I follow him
he
on
swims in
Instagram.
really cold water, and
Yeah.
most people. Well, it's
Didn't
proven.
he went up so far up Mount Everest too in a pair of
Yeah.
shorts or something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
I don't know if
yeah.
he went to the top or not.
No, he ended up getting injured, but he still went up Mount
But people,
Everest.
yeah, but that's the thing. People believe it's and it's proven too that if you get in these cold temperatures, you're not wearing enough clothes, you're gonna get frostbite, or you're gonna
Exactly.
freeze to death. But he has such belief that he can do it that his body and whatever fights for the
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's that power that lies within you, and he's learned how to contact.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was on what was I think America's Got Talent, and he was in I think it was like an ice bath or in something of ice, and he was there for like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
I
he
know.
was, and he was still perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. It's like that people can do that, but it's because they well, for one, they really believe that they can, and then they master that power and they can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're taught these limits. I mean,
Yeah.
when we're growing up, I was told things like, "Oh, you got too much imagination," or "Oh, that's just your imagination." Imagination is a word that really doesn't get a definite meaning. Sometimes they'll tell you he's got too much imagination. Tell someone, then they'll say, "Oh, he's a man of great imaginative abilities." So, is it good or is it bad? It's neither. It's how you, like Shakespeare said, nothing is either good nor bad. Thinking makes it so. It's how you use it. Your imagination can be used to achieve your goals or to destroy your life or someone
Yeah.
else's life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing about how people say, "Oh, he's just using his imagination and stuff." Well, I get told by a whole bunch of people that I can't play basketball because I'm too short, but I still play. I'm a pretty good player in
Yeah.
basketball. People tell Kevin he can't play football because he's too short and he can't run fast or something like that.
See, there
And
you
he's
go.
still playing. He doesn't
Yeah, there
care.
was a basketball player that was
Yeah,
like
who's a
5'6".
basketball? There
I
you
can't
go,
remember,
right
and he
there,
could
yeah.
dunk.
Yeah,
He could dunk.
Yeah, there
yeah.
you go. And I guarantee you, how many times you think he heard, you're too short?
Yeah.
See, people want to limit us by what they think limits they've been
Yeah.
taught. We're born with only two fears: the fear of falling, and the fear of loud noises. Everything else is learned. So if you think you can do something and then somebody tells you can't, well, you believe them and you're afraid, well, I better not try. I'll look stupid
Yeah.
or whatever. But these people do these things once again because they believe they can.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't have people with minds like that that believed when everybody else, the masses, were saying, oh, you're crazy, you can't do that, we'd still be living in caves.
Mm-hmm.
We would. Marconi was the one who, at the time he was living, they only transmitted sound through wires, telegraph wires. Well, he had an idea that he could transmit sound through the air. His two best friends had him put in a hospital for psychiatric evaluation because they thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, that's just, most people they don't have an open mind.
Yeah.
Herbert Spencer says, contempt before investigation keeps a man in everlasting ignorance. What that means is, you hear an idea, if you immediately think, oh, that's stupid, or that won't work, you're going to stay ignorant because it's possible it can work.
Yeah.
We don't know everything. There's so many things we don't know. And that's the one thing I've discovered. The older I get, the less I know. I used to
Yeah.
think I knew about everything. There's just so much.
Yeah.
The universe is so vast, the dog's part.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I know everything, but you know.
Well, you're a teenager.
Yeah.
Teenagers know everything. Where are we at on time, Isaac? Hour and 15 minutes. Well, we can wrap it up for tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Like I said, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, send a photo and some information about yourself to Mark's Inspirational Guidance at gmail.com or Henry _
Daniel 16.
16. And you could be a guest on the show. Thanks for joining us. I hope this has been of value to you. And we will see you next Saturday night at 7 p.m.